Hi guys, welcome back to the Cozy Corner. Today I am filming my May roundup. Now for May I didn't use a TBR jar, instead I did a reading challenge, and that was as many free reads or mood reads as possible during the month of May. I didn't read as much as I hoped to read, but I still read quite a bit. So let's go through what I read and what I thought about it. Okay, first up we have Philippa Gregory's The White Queen. I'm slowly making my way through all of Philippa Gregory's books, especially her Tudor line books. This is from I think this is the Tudor and the Plantagenets series. It's something like 17 books, but they could all be read as standalone books. I gave this one a 3-star. It was definitely not my favourite Philippa Gregory book, but it was still pretty good. It's about Elizabeth Woodsville and how she was a young widow with no riches to her name, and then she became the Queen of England and the mother of what have become pretty known through history as the Princes in the Tower. It was good. I recommend it, especially if you're into history, Tudor history, Plantagenet history, but it is definitely not her best piece of work, in my opinion. Next up, I read a middle grade book, Shadow Hall Academy, The Whispering Walls. Now, bearing in mind this is a middle grade book, let me tell you a story. So I was reading this and I was laying on my lounge floor with my feet up on my couch, so my legs were like a 90-degree angle because I had back pain. So just trying to release some pressure on the bottom of my back. And I was reading this and I got so creeped out that I had to get off the floor and sit on the sofa with my legs up on the sofa to continue reading, because I was just freaked out that something was going to grab me from under my sofa. Now, I don't know if that says more about me being a complete chicken or about the genius writing of Phil Hicks. Yeah, I did not expect to get that creeped out by a middle grade book, but I did. I thoroughly enjoyed it though, and I gave this a 4.5 star. I think this is probably my favourite read of May. We'll see as I recall everything else I read, but definitely recommend, but a little bit creepy. I also read The Yellow Wallpaper, which is basically a story of a young woman who's just given birth and has postnatal depression and is losing her mind in this room where the walls are just covered in yellow wallpaper. That is the whole premises of the book. Well, it's really short. I couldn't stop reading. It is genius. The twist at the end, chef's kiss. Absolutely love this. I gave this one a 3.5 to 4 stars, so probably like a 3.75. I do want to read it again because I feel it's one of those books that the more times you read it, the more you're going to pick up on. But yeah, so glad I read this. Highly recommend it. Next we move on to The Light We Carry, Michelle Obama. I gave this one a 4 star, but I preferred her other book, Becoming. I know this is like a different genre. This is more of a self-help book, whereas Becoming is more of a biography. Goodness Stees, allergy season. Okay, it will come out at some point, that's fine. But it was really good, it was really helpful. Nice little lessons that she shared. Yeah, is it the best self-help book I've read? No. But it was a nice easy read, and I also audiobooked this as well as reading it, and I find Michelle Obama's voice really comforting. So that could be why I found it quite useful. Oh my gosh, my nose. It's time to re-roll. Yeah. Next up was The Natural History of Crime. And I know you guys are going to say, but it says it right there in the title. But hear me out. There was so much history in this book to do with nature. So pollen, fungi, leaves, you know, how dirt changes over time. But the author went back all the way to the Iron Age, the Stone Age, the Romans. She went so far back, and I got a little bit bored about how far back we kept going with every case. The cases themselves were really interesting, but for me personally, I would have liked a little less history going so far back and a bit more to do with the cases. But saying that, I give it a 3-star. As I said, the cases themselves, you've got the Sower murders, Sarah Payne, and some other well-known historical crimes of Great Britain. But yeah, the whole history of how far back we went just lost me a little bit. But if you're into ecology, is that what she calls it? Forensic ecologist. Yes, if you're into forensic ecology, sorry, my nose, I'm really struggling with my allergies today. If you're a fan of forensic ecology, it would be a perfect read. If you are a fan of true crime, it's still a good read, but just know that it leans heavy on history. Talking about history, I next read David Mitchell's Unruly, which is the telling of the history of the British monarchy all the way from Roman Britain up to Queen Elizabeth I, so the last Tudor reign. It was funny, it was witty. For me personally, I'm hoping he's going to write another one that goes from the Tudor reign up to the modern age, because that's the part of the monarchy that I'm more interested in reading about, especially like Queen Victoria and the Stuarts and the Georgians. But it was really good. There was some very unique names, like Clearwolf, I think, was one of the kings. And you got King Canute, and then you've got King Aslan. Some of the names did sound like they were out of the Chronicles of Narnia or some fantasy land, but it was really insightful. I gave this one a 3-star, and I'm hoping he's going to release another one following on from where he left off here up until the modern day. Oh, apologies, the allergies today are banging. Yes, the language is a little bit vulgar in places, so just keep that in mind. Not for young readers at all, but I know it's a very popular book. And then I also read Susie Wolf's Driven. For those of you who don't know, Susie Wolf is a motor racer. She raced in DTM, and she was also Williams Formula One team's test driver. She is also now the head of Formula One Academy, which is a Formula One for female drivers. It was a really interesting read. I gave this one a 4-star. I like the way how Susie didn't shy away from all the struggles she's faced as a woman in a male-dominated sport and environment. But yeah, it just tells the story of her from when she is a young child in karting or motorbikes and on quad bikes, all the way up to helping found the Formula One Academy for female racing drivers. It was just quite inspiring to read the sacrifice and all the hard effort and work she's put in to achieve her dreams. So I really, really enjoyed that one. Now the next list of books are ones that I don't actually have a physical copy of, so these are ones that I've read on Kindle or done as an audiobook. Friedrich Bachmann's Deal of a Lifetime. Was it seasonal? Absolutely not. It was about Christmas Eve. Well, it was set on Christmas Eve, it wasn't about Christmas Eve. I really enjoyed it. It was a really short little novella. I love Friedrich Bachmann. I think he's an absolute literary genius. Really enjoyed it. I gave that one a 4-star, highly recommend. I wouldn't read it around Christmas though, because it deals with some quite sensitive subjects, but I definitely recommend reading it. It was really good. I also read Donna Ashworth's Growing Brave. I've read other works by Donna Ashworth. I've read Loss. She has something called Hope. Finding Hope? Not Finding Hope, Wild Hope. That's the one. I do like her poetry. I like the majority of her poetry. I liked Growing Brave. It dealt a lot with trauma from the past, like healing from past traumas and grief, and I felt that the poems were really encouraging. I gave it a 3-star. Probably not my favourite one of her works, but it was still really good. But actually, Growing Brave was a nice break after the book that I read previous to that, and that book was The Discomfort of Evening. I think it should have been called The Discomfort of Reading This Book. I was so darn uncomfortable reading this book. I don't even know how to explain what happened. There were so many triggers during this book that if I talked about them, I'd probably end up getting cancelled. They are that severe. I will maybe link a little list. Yeah. I don't know why I carried on reading it. What I do, I was so invested in the main character and was so rooting for a happy ending that I couldn't stop reading. But there were scenes that made me feel physically ill and make my skin crawl. It was not good. It really was not good. I don't know how to rate this book because the style of writing, I think it was well written. It was well written. I vibed with the writing style. It was very easy to read in the sense that it flowed, but the topics that the book was based on, like I dread to think what the author's actually been through in their lives to have been able to come up with this storyline, and I hope they heal from everything that they do and don't talk about that's happened in their lives, because they must have been through some heck of some stuff. So I don't know how to rate this book. I don't think I can give it a rating because storyline wise, one, it was truly disturbing, but the writing style, 4, because it did just flow. Please read all trigger warnings before you even think about picking up this book to read, because it was quite disturbing. Anyway, moving on from that, and after recovering slightly with Donna Ashworth's book, I decided to treat myself to read a classic, and I read Wuthering Heights. I don't think I was paying as much attention as I should. My brain was other places. So I do want to reread Wuthering Heights. I gave it a 2.5 and I was a little bit confused as to what was actually going on. I don't know if there was a lot going on throughout the book. There didn't seem to be a lot going on. But as I said, maybe I was just a bit too distracted, so I will reread it in the future, but for now I'm going to give that a 2.5 stars. And that is all the books that I read in May. I'm just doing a quick tally here. 12 books. Hi guys, future Kellen jumping in here. Realised while I was editing that I actually only spoke about 11 books, not 12 books. So the 12th book I read was called Your Life in My Hands, The Diaries of a Junior Doctor. I gave it 3.5 stars. It was really insightful into how the British health system works, like the NHS, how underfunded it is, and it's not a recent problem at all. It's a problem that's been going on for decades. It was, as I said, really insightful, but also quite heartbreaking to read. Give it 3.5 stars, and I also recommend it. Let me know in the comments below what you guys have been reading for May, if you have any recommendations, if you agree or disagree with anything I've said about any of the books I've mentioned. I would really like to hear your opinions on them as well. And I hope you all have a really great reading month of June. See ya! Bye!